Hey all you GBA type people, welcome to Pivotal Moments, the show where myself, KantoCastBlue, and my partner,
Oldmantup,
take you inside the matches for the Season 2 GBA D-League. And we're coming down to the bitter end here. We're in the playoffs. It's finally happened.
Yep, and today we're actually going to add a little bit more information because we're kind of rolling the weekly recap into this segment. Because of a very late upload of one of the matches, which happened to be yesterday, we are kind of rolling everything together and get the information to you guys as soon as possible.
Just because we like you. That's the only reason. So be warned, there will be spoilers ahead. So if you haven't seen the matches, be sure to go hit up any of the coaches. I believe Ellie has her set up now, so you can go check out that match between the Stantlers and the Blazikens. The Shelmet's Arcaniners has been up, I believe.
Yes.
There's not really anything, spoilery about that.
Yeah, and what a match that one was. This was definitely the culmination of two very heated competitions that happened in the regular season. So this was the division race that Super Gassy just never could seem to grab the coattails of George and pull him down enough that he could take the lead. So Gassy was definitely going into this with a hunger for victory. So let's look at the teams that were brought. So the San Francisco Arcaniners brought Mega Scizor, Landorus I, Melodic, Yuxi, Hitmonlee, and Zapdos. And the Shelmets brought Reuniclus, Blissey, Fortress, Garchomp, Amogus, and Manaphy. And I want to start this match off by giving very high praise to Super Gassy. He performed phenomenally. He played great, he prepped great, and it showed at the end of the match. Now, what are some of the things that make me say that? Well, the first thing is Chople Berry T-Wave Blissey. Gassy was banking on the fact that George was going to bring Hitmonlee and that it was going to be unburdened and not limber. Hitmonlee ended up coming in against Blissey, went for a close combat, did a little bit more than half. Well, I probably did a little bit closer to 3/4. Chople Berry popped, hit him with the T-Wave, and that pretty much neutralized the threat that was Hitmonlee. Hitmonlee stuck around, got some hits in, but it wasn't nearly as threatening after that. And that was a huge moment in the early stages of this match. As the match went on, another part of Gassy's tremendous preparation showed in his Garchomp set. This Garchomp set was so scary after you figured out what it was. Max speed, lots of special defense, lots of hit points. Sub, Swords Dance, Dragon Claw, Earthquake. Wham bam, thank you ma'am. That almost closed the door on this match. But George, being the competitor he was able to figure out with his team a way to overcome this obstacle. And the little dance that he did around this Garchomp unfortunately cost him his Zapdos, which George did state towards the beginning of the match. Zapdos was a key component in this team because of the electric, ice, and fire coverage that it carried. It really did work against Gassy's team. But unfortunately, at this point in the match, it had to go down so Landorus could come in and get rid of this Garchomp, because if not, it was just going to be a good game. After that, George gets up, a Swords Dance, and a Rock Polish, and this double dancing Landorus I could have been a huge problem for Gassy. Luckily, he had Fortress on his team. Come in, after that Rock Polish, a Gyro Ball is just terrifying. Was able to come in, take the Earthquake, and scare Landorus out. Few other things that happened in this match. The trading of rocks back and forth that happened a couple of times. Defog on Mega Scizor and Rapid Spin on Fortress. Super Gassy did a really good job of keeping the rocks off his side of the field for the majority of the match. And he also did a really good job of keeping them on George's side. And it really helped him in the long run. Ultimately, I think 2 Mons total went down as a result of Stealth Rock damage, and that is huge. That's a third of the team. Just dies to switch-ins. After that, another really, and I think this may be the pivotal moment of the match, in my opinion anyways. Super Gassy had in Manaphy. and he was looking to go for the kill. Sets up a tail glow. Yuxi's in. Yuxi's been asleep. The first opportunity it has to wake up, it wakes up and gets a yawn off after the tail glow is set up, making Super Gassy either stay in and get one massive hit off on something, or switch out, losing his tail glow. Now, George did still have Landorus Eye, which was the only thing that outsped at that point on his team, so it could have come back in and still outsped. But I feel at that point, had that yawn not gone off, this match might have ended a lot sooner than it did, because it lasted quite a bit after this point. But Yuxi comes in, gets that first available turn wake up, and gets the yawn off, which was just huge. And another thing that really affected the match, Blissey comes in and manages to survive a U-turn with 4 hit points left, gets it soft-boiled off, and had this Blissey not survived that, I'm not saying it would have ultimately changed the outcome of the match, but it would have made it a lot harder for Super Gassy in the late stages of this match to match bulk for bulk with Melodic and finish up. Eventually, Manaphy went down. Shortly after that, Landorus went down. And after Landorus went down, George really didn't have any answers to this Blissey that survived on that 4 hit points. He had things that could stay in and possibly outstall Blissey, but unfortunately nothing that could outright just take it out. I mean, Hitmonlee was still around, but it was within the range that the Seismic Toss would finish it. It was paralyzed, so it wouldn't be able to outspeed. And after that, ultimately the nail in the coffin, Yuxi ended up back asleep again. It ended up with a 3 full turns of sleep, which allowed Reuniclus to just whittle it down with Psychics. And from this point on, it was just a slow grind of George maneuvering his Pokemon, trying to outstall Reuniclus. And after 13 Psychics, Reuniclus lands a crit on Melodic, finishes it off, and it was pretty much just everything switching in and dying or going down to Reuniclus at that point. And Super Gassy ends up winning with a 4-0 victory.
That was definitely the more intense of the playoff matches, I think. I was personally heartbroken when the Melodic Skull did not break the Garchomp sub initially. And I think George knew it too. I think he was like, that's when I knew I made a huge mistake by not keeping Zapdos in.
Yeah.
Definitely an intense match. And I agree, that first turn wake up with Yuxi to get the yawn off, and I believe George said it too, like, I need this to stay in the game, and then it happened. Yep. It was just the incredible back and forth that took place in this match. One player was up, and then the other one was up. It was a roller coaster of emotions, personally, for me.
Alright, this match resulted in a 4-0, but the match was close the entire time.
Yeah. Until
there was that final breaking point, it was 4-3 until that, the ultimate crit that took down Melodic, 4-3 at that point. And then it was just a slow grind of switch-ins, the Stealth Rocks took their damage, and Reuniclus just being able to finish the deal. But this was by no means a blowout.
No. And in fact, there was a DC in the middle. I think the overall match was about 50 minutes to an hour total. Definitely not something you would expect to see with a 4-0, an hour-long match.
Right.
But congratulations to the Shelmets, who are moving on into the finals now. We incorrectly called that last week. Oops.
Yeah.
That's our bad. But we would not be complete without talking about the Blazikens and Stantlers playoff match. And again, if you haven't seen this, there is a match of this up on 8-Bit Insomniac or Ellie's channel, so you can go check that out. We're going to talk about it now, so this is your last warning. So the Blazikens brought Entei, Mega Venusaur, Gastrodon, Skarmory, Mamoswine, and Alakazam. Not really a whole lot of difference in terms of what Nick or the Blazikens had brought most of the season, I think. He had a really staple 4 between, Entei, Mega Venusaur, Alakazam, and then like Mamoswine / Lucario for the most part. I don't ever think I saw him without those. With good reason, too. That's a really good offensive staple to have.
Alright.
The Stantlers had Vaporeon, Latias, Heliolisk, Scizor, Regirock, and Infernape. Again, Ellie, I think, had a little bit more diversity in her weekly picks for her teams. I did see Latias a lot. I saw Regirock a decent amount, Scizor was usually there. No Mega Sableye this time. I thought that was interesting. That magic bounce, I feel like, may have come in handy given the Venusaur matchup, but hindsight, always 2020.
Yeah.
So,
fun fact about the actual usage of the Pokemon, Ellie is the only coach who had 2 Pokemon that were never brought from her roster, being Braviary and Sandslash.
well, she kind of brought Sandslash against...
Oh, the joke game.
We won't count that one, even though I died a little inside when Sandslash got foul played. But I completely forgot that she had Braviary.
Yeah.
That's a bummer. I like that.
She was one of 2 coaches who had a Pokemon on their team that never made it onto the field. Fun facts.
For you guys. So this match was, I won't say less exciting than the Arcanine or Shelmet's match, because it was still good. The plays that were made, I feel like were very concise on the Blazikens end. The Stantlers, Tup and I talked about it pre-recording, and ultimately Ellie played a little bit fast and loose with her predictions early on, which didn't ultimately pay off in the end. Not trying to spoil anything, but the Blazikens did pick up a 4-0 win. So there's that. It was a 38-turn match, not very long. Initially, kind of a, I won't call it the pivotal moment, but it definitely influenced some of the match. Latias got sludge bombed by Mega Venusaur and got poisoned, like right off the bat. So you have one of the wall Pokemon, which I think is how she was using it. It was a Rocky Helmet set with Roost and all that. Latias taking residual poison damage definitely didn't help. It was a lot of switch-in potential for a lot of offensive threats that the Blazikens or Nick had, mainly being like Venusaur, Entei, Gastrodon. The only thing it didn't really want to tackle all that much was Mamoswine or Alakazam. So, I mean, it was definitely important to Ellie's team. The next kind of big thing that happened was Mega Venusaur versus Heliolisk. Heliolisk switches out into Scizor. Mega Venusaur goes for an HP Fire. So, what could have happened here? Heliolisk may have had Dry Skin. HP Fire would have done a whole lot. Scizor coming in, maybe predicting a grass attack, wouldn't have done a whole lot. The safest switch, honestly, would have been Latias in on that Venusaur. It didn't really do a whole lot with the HP Fire damage. Would have taken Sludge Bomb relatively well. Giga Drain wouldn't have done a whole lot. So, we got rid of the, what berry was it? The
Occa Berry.
The Occa Berry, yeah. Ate up the Occa Berry, like, really quick. Brought Scizor down below half. And then, immediately switches out from Scizor into Latias. So, ultimately kind of burned that berry early. Bullet punches and bug bites aren't really going to do a whole lot to Mega Venusaur. It's bulky. It resists, like, everything, and then it gets thick fat on top of that. It's not good times. And then, there's some back and forth. Entei is extreme speeding Rocky Helmet Latias. There's not really a reason for Nick to switch out because rocks are up. Entei's going to be pretty much useless at that point anyway. And then Alakazam comes in. Alakazam sets up 2 Calm Minds, avoids 2 Sucker Punches, and then on turn 3 goes for the Dazzling Gleam onto Latias. Once that thing went down, Alakazam pretty much took care of the rest of the team, which at that point I believe was Vaporeon, which it took out with an Energy Ball, and then Infernape. So, not a whole lot you can do there, unfortunately. But, a 4-0 is still a 4-0. It was not nearly as long as the match that we talked about first. But, again, congratulations to the Blaziken, who move on into the finals, which, again, we called incorrectly.
I would like to point out that both of our favorite competitors are in the finals.
That's true.
Who we did say if we could put someone in there, they were those people.
Yes.
We were completely wrong with what we said would be our legit predictions as to what we thought would happen.
Yes.
We are happy that our favorite people are on either side.
Yes. I promised I would make a public apology. Here it is. Nick, Mighty Mamoswine, coach of the Washington Blazikens. I am sorry. I had a lapse moment of judgment. I apologize. But if you listen to KantoCast, you know that I had him on, like, right after the draft, and I said, you know what, Blazikens are going to win it all. So, I flip-flopped, and I apologize for that. I'm sorry, Nick. Ugh, I hate the taste of humble pie. But, still pretty decent playoff matches, I think.
Right, yeah, I completely agree with your analysis. The only thing I'd like to add to it was Ellie just got so far behind early in the game by making aggressive predictions with her switches, or making aggressive predictions with her attacks. Because the Grass Knot from Heliolisk on the Venusaur, thinking that Gastrodon was going to come in, is ultimately what I believe set up the end. Because she was more or less on her back heel from that point, and she just never really got momentum moving forward. There were just a few plays where the attacks that came, I just thought to myself, oh, no, no, no. But, in the end, the two best competitors from the division had a fantastic game, and Nick just pulled her out of the bag.
So those are your playoff matches for the Season 2 of the GBA D-League. But right now, we're going to talk about league leaders.
Oh yeah, we are adding a brand new segment to Pivotal Moments. Like we said before, we're adding some of the recap aspects just to keep you guys up to date with the quote-unquote MVP race and who is going forward to be the league leaders. Number 10, coming out, the ever-popular and ever-powerful Entei. 7 kills, 4 deaths with a +3 differential. This thing's always a force to reckon with. Then we've got Lucario. Both of these Mons were members of the are members of the Washington Blazikens. And he had 7 kills, 3 deaths with a +4 differential. Going up to number 8, we have Scizor of the Accrington Stantlers with 9 kills, 10 deaths with a +4 differential. Number 7, we have Gudra of the San Francisco Arcaniners with 6 kills, only 1 death all season long, and a +5 differential. And rounding out the bottom 5 of the top 10 is the 3rd member of the Washington Blaziken, Alakazam, who cleaned up that match with 9 kills, 4 deaths with a +5 differential.
So the top 5, I think, are no surprise, except maybe for number 1, which Tup and I were just ecstatic about. But number 5, we have Landorus Incarnate, member of the San Francisco Arcaniners. No surprise there, we just spent probably 20 minutes telling you about it. 10 kills, 5 deaths, for a +5 differential for the season. Number 4, a personal favorite of mine, shout out to Will, Crobat. Crobat put in the work on the Buffalont Bills team. 10 kills, 5 deaths, +5 differential. I mean, it lived a Choice Specs Extrasensory from a Roserade. Good lord, that thing's ridiculous. Number 3, we have Zapdos, also from the San Francisco Arcaniners. 7 kills, 1 death, +6 differential. You guys remember that 1% live on rocks? Yeah, I know. Hitmonlee comes in at number 2, another member of the San Francisco Arcaniners. 8 kills, 2 deaths, with a +6 differential. And he didn't really come to that many matches, I don't believe.
Yeah, only 3 actual matches during the season.
That's bonkers. Absolutely bonkers. But you know what's more bonkers? The number 1 league leader, Reuniclus from the New York Shelmets. It had, I'm not kidding, 11 kills, 0 deaths for a +11 differential. Reuniclus, guys.
Yeah, Reuniclus, and we were talking about this at length before we recorded, and we believe this may be the slowest Pokemon with a base stat speed of 30 to ever make it to number 1 in the league leaders, aka MVP race, in the history of the GBA.
Absolutely crazy. And it was like the 3rd slowest Pokemon in the GBA D-League Season 2 draft. I think, what was it? Mega Sableye and Dusclops were slower, yeah. And that was it. 11 kills.
Yeah. There were a few Pokemon that shared its speed in the league, but there were only 2 that were slower. And for that to be the fact, I mean, that just proves that, I mean, speed isn't everything. It's how you build your team around, and Super Gassy did a fantastic job this season with the games that he brought it to, working around the opponent's team to get Reuniclus that chance to set up some of the times a Calm Mind or 2 or Trick Room, and then just wreck people's faces after that. And 11 kills and 0 deaths. 0 deaths! That is fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely insane. But you know what? I'm really happy about it, because you always think of like the most offensively built mon that just goes in and sweeps everything. What was it for Season 4? Was it like Weavile? I think he was up towards the top. Yeah. I mean, that's the kind of Pokemon you think about when you're thinking, oh, okay, well, league leader. Yeah, obviously. But Reuniclus, it's fantastic.
Well, I would like to point out, and it just didn't dawn on me till now, neither of the top 2 league leaders offensively are very high tiered in the draft. These are like tier 3, tier 4 Pokemon. So for these guys to be so low, supposedly, in ability to perform in the GBA, that really speaks to the strength and strategy of the coaches that use them.
Yeah, excellent team builders. Excellent team builders.
Okay, now something that we haven't officially announced yet that we're going to tell you guys is we, much like Season 4 of the GBA, are going to have an awards video for the coaches and teams of the GBA D-League Season 2. And let me remind you the categories that we do in these award ceremony. We actually added one this year because we felt there was a need. We're going to start off with the offensive Pokemon of the season, the defensive Pokemon of the season, the coach of the season, the 7th Pokemon of the season. And for those of you who don't know what that is, that's a Pokemon who was brought to half or less matches but every time they came in, like Hitmonlee, they made a huge difference. So that's what 7th Poke is. And our newest category, because we had so many coaches that just did so much better as the season progressed, most improved coach of the season.
That is a personal favorite award for me. I'm pretty thrilled that that got picked up. I'm sure you guys are too. If you want, let us know what you think your predictions for the awards will be in the comments below. Also, I don't know if you heard, but the GBA Season 2 D-League Finals are a thing that are happening really soon. Let us know what your predictions are for that as well. And as always, you can let us know if we missed any pivotal moments for the playoff matches for the Season 2 GBA D-League. And again, all those in the comments below. Let us know what you think. But guys, that is going to do it for the Pivotal Moments playoff week.
As always, I'm Oldmantup with my best friend KantoCastBlue, and we will catch you next week. Peace out.